So the thing that I love about content creation is that it's not timeless sometimes. What's going on with you guys? TheCaliEffect, king of games here, and allow me to explain exactly how we got here. So I had a hand traps video scheduled up for Friday, and as I was going through it, I was like, no. Going through the video, I thought that the information that I gave you guys was good, but slightly dated. My opinion on the best deck of the format has completely changed from that video until now, and it would have been a disservice to give you guys a video that wasn't exactly what I thought. I also wanted to address the problem that Europe is having with the current remote dual YCS. Cards like DD Crow and Ally of Justice Psycho Reader become completely useless against Drytron for Europeans, but that doesn't necessarily seem to apply for the TCG or any other territories. It is fairly unfortunate that TCG Europe will be using Warrock times while we're futuristic Sky Striker over here, but it's just another reason why I had to remake this video to give you guys a comprehensive tier list with that in mind. So of course, if you want to see more content like this, then be sure to destroy that subscribe button, but also go ahead and hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I kind of had to, this is new. Also guys, if you want to see more amazing TheCaliEffect content, then go ahead and check me out on Twitch. I'll be streaming today at around 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But with all that out of the way, let's jump on in and talk about this tier list. Now there's one more thing that I want to talk to you guys about before we get into the tier list. What exactly are the best decks of the format? Now, this probably will change with the remote dual YCS, even though I highly doubt it, but currently the top 5 decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are BBW, Virtual World, Drytron, Sky Strikers, and Dolls in that particular order. That's right, BBW being the best deck, Virtual World being the second best deck, and then following in that chronological order. Now, of course, you probably want to hear why I have them exactly in that order. How the hell did Virtual World get that high? So if you want to see that, go ahead and post down below in the comment section. And if you disagree, go ahead and let me know what your top 5 would be. So with all that out of the way, I have 5 different categories, all the way from head honcho, better be called with it. These are Yu-Gi-Oh cards that if your deck is applicable to play hand traps, then you need to be playing, all the way down to, oh no, what are you doing, baby? Hand traps that will probably cost you games more than they'll win. Of course, one thing I want to point out is that underrated isn't necessarily better than really good. Really good is the standard hand trap, the lineup that are fairly good in certain situations, while underrated is just hand traps that are really good, but people are sleeping on. We're gonna be starting off with Ally of Justice Psycho Reader. I think that Ally of Justice Psycho Reader is a really good card. Now, of course, if you guys are playing in remote dual YCS in Europe, this card is an, oh no, what are you doing, baby? And the reason why is because they're going back to the old ruling, whereas, let's say, for example, a Drytron monster would activate its effect, tributing a monster like Cyber Angel Benton. Regardless if you do DD Crow or Ally of Justice Psycho Reader the card, he'd still be able to resolve and activate the effect of Benton. So if you're in Europe, don't play Psycho Reader right now. And if you guys aren't in Europe, then this card is fairly good. The reason why I wouldn't say that this card is a card that you better be caught with, because out of all the top decks that I listed, from BBW down to Shaddolls, there's only one deck that this card can impact, and it's Drytron. Moving forward, Artifact Delancia is, oh man, Artifact Delancia feels like a card that you better be caught with because it's an amazing sideboard card. It does fairly well against Virtual World. It can stop BBW's entire turn. Drytron is fairly unaffected. Sky Strikers actually benefit from this because now they can set cards like Mobilize Engage, activate Artifact Delancia, and then their Mobilize Engage will go back to Graveyard instead of being banished. And Shaddol, it can do fairly decent against Shaddol Invoked. The real reason why this card shines is because it's amazing against so many matchups and it can completely end a turn. I think that this card is a card that you must play in your sideboard if you're seeing your meta being dominated with banishment. Going around, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is now a, I want to put it in a really good category. Mainly because Ash Blossom is just so generic as a Yu-Gi-Oh card. It can hit almost, I think, every single Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It hits every single one of these decks in our list in some capacity. Ash Blossom is just overall a great card. Now, unfortunately, Ash Blossom doesn't always get rid of the threat, and sometimes Ash Blossom isn't the best thing with Triple Tactics talent running around, which is why I consider it just a really, really good staple Yu-Gi-Oh card. And oh man, I just think it's really good. I can't put it higher than Better Be Caught With It. Chaos Hunter, I think, is an... You know what? I'm going to put it in a situational for this reason. Artifact Delancia is amazing against those certain decks. Chaos Hunter is a step further because if you can protect this card, it can completely shut down decks like BBW. The problem is protecting this card. With so many ways to out monsters on the field, this card can just be a temporary roadblock where Artifact Delancia can shut down the opponent's turn. And for the people that have not been watching the TheCaliEffect, I feel like I should explain what BBW is. Don't use Google. BBW is Beast Warrior, Winged Beast, also known as Tri-Brigade. I do think it is the strongest deck in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and me and Meshach will probably prove it to you this week. Now again, with DD Crow, if you guys are playing in the role dual YCS, this is a, oh no, what are you doing, baby? Europe has completely butchered the playability for Ally of Justice, Cypher Reader, and DD Crow. And unfortunately, if you submitted your deck list, yeah, you're just kind of screwed. You got to play the card. But everywhere else, I feel that DD Crow is an underrated Yu-Gi-Oh card. Players should already know the power of DD Crow. If you are playing BBW, this card is searchable, which is godly. It can do fairly well against every single one of the top decks. Against BBW, banish a particular card so they can't make that particular link monster. You can also be able to hit it in certain instances to prevent card effects from being activated. Same thing with Dull against Sky Strikers. Just hit Mobilize, Engage, Forehead. You definitely slow them down a lot. Drytron, you guys already know if you're not in Europe, a great card to disrupt their combos. And of course, against Virtual World, it may not always be wise to hit the Qinglong. This is probably where the card isn't as great, but being able to banish particular cards like Qinglong if they don't have another way to get into the graveyard, or banish the card that Lao Lao maybe wants to summon, can still be pretty impactful. Of course, Dimensional Shifter is a card you better be caught with if you can afford to play the card inside of your deck. Still, every single one of these top decks are graveyard reliant, all the way from BBW to Virtual World, Drytron, Sky Striker, and Dull. A time Dimensional Shifter will end their turn completely. Droll and Lockbird is still going to be in that better be caught with it. This card can end Drytron's turn. It's fairly weak to Virtual World and BBW. It can hurt Sky Strikers sometimes. Dull, it can do really well if they're playing Invoked Dull. So the most important thing about both Artifact Delancia and Droll is that while I did give you the top 5 decks of the format, there are also so many other decks in Yu-Gi-Oh that can be played, and Droll and Lockbird and Artifact Delancia have excellent coverage against them. Effect Veiler, if you guys did not know, is an underrated Yu-Gi-Oh card. This card's actually phenomenal. The only matchup that it doesn't do amazingly well against is Virtual World, and that's another reason why Virtual World is just so good. Cards like DD Crow, Effect Veiler, and Infinite Impermanence are going to be amazing against some of the better decks in Yu-Gi-Oh, like, I don't know, BBW, Drytron, Sky Striker, and Droll, but Virtual World can kind of play around these particular cards. Regardless, Effect Veiler does stop all of your Tri-Brigade monster effects on field. It also can stop Sky Striker monsters, as well as Alistair the Invoker, and of course, while it may not have the best Drytron situation, it can stop Mu Beta, and it also can stop Diviner of Herald. Evenly Matched is, oh, you know what? Evenly Matched is actually underrated. Evenly Matched is underrated. Evenly Matched is amazing against my crowned best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! In BBW. Boy, imagine when your opponent sets up with Tri-Brigades and you go battle phase. It even banishes the cards face down. Evenly Matched is a godsend. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme is still an amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. Every single one of these decks, for the exception of Virtual World, Link summons fairly often. Link summoning is back and Thanos can take full advantage. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Why does life hate me? I really wanted Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood to be an amazing card. We do this every single hand trap video where I'm reminded that I spent $60 on 3 Dogwoods, and boy. Now, ironically, Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, I want to put it right here. Ghost Bell has dumb applications that people don't even pay attention to. Ghost Bell stops Tri-Brigade Revolt, and if you can stop Tri-Brigade Revolt against Tri-Brigade, oh my, you're in an amazing spot. It does pretty well against Drytrons. It can hit Virtual World, Lao Lao, and as well as Gigi. Sky Strikers, it can stop Kagari from adding Engage. Or against Dolls, it can stop Shuttle Schism. But more importantly, Ghost Bell can also stop Cyframe Gear Gamma. Now, I know Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring can also stop Cyframe Gear Gamma, but Ghost Bell has all of that utility, plus being able to stop some of the best cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game currently, and being able to stop Cyframe Gear Gamma. I really do think that Ghost Bell should be paired with Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, as these are almost mandatory 6 cards that you need to play into your extra deck or your main deck right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drop it to really good, but I want you guys to understand that these two could be really right here if you decide to play hand traps inside of your deck, or they're just really, really good cards that you have to respect. Moving forward, this card I actually feel is underrated. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill in a format where monster effect usage is kind of rampant right now. All of the top decks heavily rely on their monster effects, and not only does Moonlit Chill negate the monster effect, it can be actually really good in time. Outside of zombies, I don't think that there is a current competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck that can utilize Ghost Mourner to its fullest potential, but I definitely think it's an underrated card. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Day after day. I'm literally drawing a blank when I try to find a way for Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit to be competitive. BBW doesn't care. They lose their monster. They still get the special summon. By the way, you gave them a BBW in their graveyard. Virtual World, what are you ogering in this deck? I guess you're going to stop Chu-Chi and Qinglong. Cosmic Cyclone does the better job. Drytron, I mean, again, you're not stopping anything. Sky Striker, thank you for putting Ray back to my side of the field. And Dolls, I guess you can... What are you doing here? Unfortunately, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is legitimately an oh no, what are you doing, baby card. Moving on, we're going to move on to Gnome Material. This card is fairly situational, guys. I think that Gnome Material is a good card. It can stop your opponent's entire turn. If you're playing against a particular deck like Virtual World or Drytron needs that particular monster, it can be decent against Sky Striker if they're not summoning Ray, because they'll just chain Ray's effect. So that's where this card becomes fairly good if you can resolve its effect on a summoned monster that your opponent needs, but it's fairly situational. Green Light is, oh no, what are you doing, baby? I mean, I guess she can stop Sky Striker's important spell cards, but don't be playing this card, guys. You don't need it. Same thing with Purple Light. You can stop some pretty interesting cards, but look, this card can't stop Forbidden Droplet if it sends a monster, and this card can't stop Solemn Strike, which is arguably the best trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. So what are we doing, baby? Moving forward, Herald of Orange Light is a better be caught with it. If you can play a deck that, can take advantage of Orange Light, you probably should be playing it. It's a reason why Effect Veiler and Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill are very, very underrated Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. Infinite Impermanence can't be underrated. It's a card everybody knows is really good, and this has an advantage over Effect Veiler, Herald, and Ghost Mourner, as it won't trigger Triple Tactics talent. Misk. I miss you, Misk. For what I don't know, Misk was actually put in here as a joke. Of course, if you are playing Dinos, you better be caught with Misk. But it's been a long day without you, my friend. Nibiru actually moves to situational. It's really unfortunate, as Doll's Sky Striker can completely play under Nibiru. BBW can also play under Nibiru if it ever becomes a great card. And while Virtual World could be hit by Nibiru, as a lot of Virtual World decks will just ignore Nibiru because nobody's playing it, it doesn't necessarily stop them, because this deck is kind of insane. The fact that both Drytron and Virtual World could play around Nibiru if they really wanted to, and if it ever became a very impactful card, means that Nibiru probably shouldn't be played. It's fairly situational. I guess if you did mainboard it right now, you could catch players off guard, but then there's decks that just would make this card dead. Cypher Gear Gamma is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card that you better be caught with. It's a reason why I feel that BBW and Virtual World are the top 2 decks, and the main reason is because both of these strategies can abuse Cypher Gear Gamma like no other. For Tri-Brigade, there are actually so many interactions where your opponent wants to Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring you, but can't. When you activate Fractal, that's a point where they want to Ash Blossom you. You don't have to commit any monsters. Tanky. that's a point where your opponent wants to stop you and you don't have to commit any monsters, but more importantly, Rescue Cat. That is a literal game-winning card, a hand button I win card. Your opponent is almost forced to Ash Blossom it, and then you follow it with Gamma. Virtual World for a little bit different. They get an infinite amount of Gammas, as they can keep on shuffling it back into the deck with Virtual World Nyan Nyan. So both of these decks can take advantage of ciphering your Gamma, one of the most powerful hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because not only does it negate the activation of the monster effect, it destroys it and gives you 2 monsters to your side of the field. Next is going to be Saravis. There's actually quite a bit of targeting in here with Effect Veiler, with Infinite Impermanence. I'm gonna have to say that this card is fairly situational. Also, this card targets too. If you guys just so happen to be playing Herald of Arclight or a very good way to search this card for free, I would consider it testing it out, but I don't think that it's going to be a highly impactful card that will change the way your deck is played. There is a lot of targeting in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, but Saravis just may not be it. Also, Skullmeister is an underrated Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, ladies and gentlemen. It does suffer the same problem of losing the Gamma when your opponent does BBW stuff, but it can stop Sharaig's Graveyard Effect, which is, that effect's kind of busted. It can also stop those virtual rolls from activating in Graveyard because those cards are good. It can stop Ray, it can stop Doll Effect monsters. This card's fairly underrated and people aren't paying attention to it enough. And our last cards are Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. A lot of players try to make up, oh, but my deck doesn't use an extra deck, I can play Ghost Reaper. Look, man, if you're playing competitively and you don't need an extra deck, I hate to say it, but Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Prosperity would probably be better options. And even if you still had extra deck space, you probably just have better options by running cards like Dogmatic, a punishment, and targets for Doggo Punisho. Every single one of these top decks could have their main extra deck card banished and still beat the living daylights out of your strategy. Unfortunately, as much as I want you to win with Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, it's just not probable in this current format. Last is our Zephyr. Where exactly does this card go? It does negate monster effects. I feel it is a situational Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. Very unfortunate, as I had a lot of hype for this card and it just has not panned out so far. Now, don't get me wrong, this card is actually fairly good, and the reason why is because it is a searchable hand trap. It's a Wind Dragon monster, and Tempest can actually search it, but right now it's not too great. I mean, there are better monster effect negations. Well, that is all that I have for the hand trap tier list, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and post down below in the comment section what other tier list videos would you like to see next, and also check out these videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.